Another few seconds, and Jeff, if you could advance to our next slide, we'll get going in a minute. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Canadian Parks and Recreation and Sport Infrastructure Database webinar presented here by Canadian Parks and Recreation Association and ActiveXchange. My name is Diane English, and I am joined by Jeff Foster from ActiveXchange. He'll introduce himself a little bit later. I just wanted to begin our webinar with a short territorial acknowledgement. CPRA is located on the unceded traditional territory of the Algonquin and Mohawk First Nations. We acknowledge the historical oppression of lands, cultures, and of the original peoples in what we now know as Canada, and we aim to contribute to the healing and decolonizing journey we all share together. And today, I respectfully acknowledge that I work and live on the traditional territory of the many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples. And Toronto is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. So welcome, everyone. And Jeff, if you would just advance for me, I will get us underway. So in today's webinar, the webinar is being recorded and a link will be made available. You will also receive a copy of the PowerPoint with the relevant links. Your microphone is muted. Everyone is using the webinar chat box to introduce themselves. That's fantastic. Great to see so many friends of CPRA who are engaged today. And if you have questions during the webinar, please use the Q&A box. And you have the option, I hope, to upvote for questions. So if you see somebody's question and you think, hey, that's a really good question, upvote, it'll pop to the top. We will take a couple of opportunities throughout the webinar to answer those. If you have any technical issues, please write those in the chat. And we have my colleague Denise at CPRA here helping me as well today. Next slide. So just what we're going to cover today, I'll just give you a brief introduction to CPRA. We'll have an overview of the database when I hand things over to Jeff, and then he's going to talk about all the new developments, the things that have been happening since we launched this system a year ago. And of course, we'll take your questions. So CPRA is a national nonprofit, and we are really dedicated to fostering healthy, vibrant communities through recreation and parks. If you're not aware, CPRA's members are the 13 provincial and territorial associations, and by extension, their members. And through those networks, CPRA reaches over 90% of Canadian municipalities. CPRA is a voice, the advocacy for the sector. We are a community providing networking, and I'll talk about our new networking platform in a minute. And of course, we have many, many resources and initiatives that help support the sector. So CPRA is so pleased to have launched a new website this year and something called CPRA Connect. It's a space for recreation and parks leaders to connect, to ask questions, to post resources, to find people who with similar interests or solve problems. And it gives you really that direct access to networking and resources through our broad network. So you can sign up for an account. It is a protected space, so you're not going to encounter anything that's not related to parks and recreation there. You can go to cpra.ca and sign up for an account. And it'll look pretty familiar. It looks like a lot of social media platforms, but we are building up all of the resources in there and just really trying to make it a vibrant community where people can network. Recently, also, CPRA has been involved in some other initiatives. If you could back up a slide again, we have with our partners at Life Saving Society, have a national swimming recovery program, which is helping train lifeguards across Canada, lifeguards and swim instructors. We are in the process of updating and providing a supplement to the Framework for Recreation in Canada, which is up for renewal in a few years. So look for that as a great resource coming soon. We've also got some new resources for healthy eating in recreation and parks environments. And two items that I wanted to specifically spend a bit more time are measuring impact. The Canadian Fitness and Lifestyle Research Institute and CPRA partnered to provide innovative research tools and resources that really demonstrate the deep and multifaceted impact and value of sport, recreation, and physical activity. Um, it is a great collection of evidence-based research that provides practitioners and decision makers with the current data and metrics that can be used at the local level to build your case for investment. And it's divided into four pillars: the social impact, the health impact, the economic impact, and the environmental impact. And you will be surprised by some of the money that's involved, some of the values, and it's just going to keep growing. It's not a static product. It's something that we're going to keep adding to and providing more resources to help people use that data at the local level. On the site measuring-impact.ca, you'll find resources, infographics, just a lot of great information that you can use with council, with your board of directors, and just nice social media tiles as well, so you can start spreading the word about it. And also, CPRA has partnered with Jay's Care Foundation to increase participation in their award-winning programs, Girls at Bat and Challenger Baseball. Challenger Baseball's an adapted or inclusive program. Jay's Care actually provide municipalities and community partners with free training and equipment for in advance of running these programs. It's really like a program in a box, an incredible coach's manual, beautiful equipment, all free of charge. And it really just helps remove barriers to participation, to getting a new program off the ground. And if you capture this QR code, or I will just pop the actual URL in the chat box, you can sign up to get more information about how to be involved. We just finished one intake. We're going to be doing another push in the fall. And we've had more than 20 pilot communities, really fantastic input from them, fantastic results about just making baseball experiences and softball experiences fun for a lot more people. So with that, I am going to hand things. Oh, no, we've got a poll. How could I forget the famous poll? So we're here to talk about the Canadian Parks, Recreation, and Sport Infrastructure Database. So we do have a quick poll, and I'm going to launch it. So first of all, do you have an account, and have you logged in? So I'm just going to open up this poll, and please go ahead and vote, and we'll just see the results. The votes are coming in thick and fast. Got about 120 people on our call today. Almost everybody has answered. You know, one more minute. All right. So only 37% have an account, and of those, only 25% have, or an initial 25% have actually logged in. So this is great because you're going to get all the information you need today to get started. So thanks for sharing that information. That just helps us. And now I'll hand things over to Jeff Foster, who comes to us from Alberta today.
Yeah, thanks, Diane, and thanks for sharing that poll there. It's quite interesting. So about 37%, only about 37% of those on the call today have logged in to an account. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take some time to, one, go through the database itself, and oh, that just popped up for me again. I'm going to close that. Go through the database again for those of you that are new to this, and then we're also going to talk about some new developments, as Diane said, and we're pretty excited about some of these new developments here. So without any further ado, I say let's get into it. So I'm sure you may have heard a little bit about who ActiveXchange is, so I hope you are, because I've seen a bunch of familiar names in the chat coming on here and some unfamiliar names. But for those of you that don't know who ActiveXchange is, before we can get into talking about what this database is, I got to talk about what my organization is and the partnership that ourselves, ActiveXchange, and the Canadian Parks and Recreation Association have developed, because this is probably our most exciting project. But before I even talk about my organization, I got to talk about myself. I need to get on my little soapbox here and talk about who I am. So I'm sure many of you know who I am. I think I recognize probably about half the names in here that have come across. But for those of you that don't, my name is Jeff Foster. I am the client success lead with ActiveXchange. I've been with ActiveXchange now for about 2 years. So I've really been a part of this database launch from beginning until now, from the phases of inception, of idea creation, of brainstorming what this database can look like, what our partnership between the CPRA and ActiveXchange can be and look like, as well as our launch in May of 2023. So a little over a year ago now. All of what's happened between now and then, and where we're at right now, which I'm very excited to talk to you about. Some pretty exciting, pretty new developments that will hopefully launch this database into a place of even more fulfilled value. What we hear constantly about this project from all the organizations that we speak to is how valuable, how much value there is in a shared open sourced infrastructure database like what we're building. And we're really working hard to make this database as good as it can be and full of as much value as possible. And hopefully you can see that through our presentation today. So a bit about ActiveXchange, a bit about my company, is that we are an award-winning data science and technology company with offices in Edmonton, Alberta, Sydney, Australia, London, England, the United Kingdom. And what we do is we help organizations in the parks, sports, and recreation sectors make data-driven decisions that allow them to build and encourage active and healthy communities in their communities. What we do is we provide the data intelligence, the data science tools, the insights, the algorithms that are needed to help support those organizations in the parks, sports, and recreation sector to actually impact to impact the best of their ability their communities, and evidence that to those organizations that they need evidencing to. So it's just a little bit of the impact that we've had is we've impacted over 10 million, I believe that's on the low end of the actual figures, impacting over 10 million directly sport and recreation members worldwide. So through one of the tools or impactful ways we have on the right-hand side of your screen here, we've been able to make a pretty sizable impact on the parks, sports, and recreation sectors in Canada and beyond. But what do we actually do? Well, again, I kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, but what we do is we solve the parks, sports, and recreation sector's data problems. Now, what are those problems? So things like fragmented data, siloed data, isolated data, data that does not have the information needed that would allow sufficient insights. So we help solve some of those insufficient insights. Sometimes there's a lack of information that does not allow organizations, allow users to effectively make the decisions or have the insights that allow them to make critical decisions, which then lead to an offer misalignment. So what we do is we help bring in and break down fragmented siloed data to improve the ability to create business intelligence insights that allow improved offers. And the way that we do that is, a little corny saying that we have, is by putting key intelligence at your fingertips. What we do is we provide all of you on the call today, because today's call is about the database, which is a free resource with key intelligence that all you need to do is log in. This will sign up for an account, because most of you have not. Sign up for an account, log in, and access this free intelligence tool. But what exactly does putting key intelligence at your fingertips mean? Well, it means being able to answer a multitude, that's the word I'm looking for, a multitude of different relevant questions for the park, sports, and recreation sector. Right now, I have 3 different questions on your screen here. Why is one person more likely to be active than another person? Which locations and facilities are more likely to attract demand than others? And what is the value of participation to enable evidence-based decisions? So why is one person more likely to be active than another person? If we're able to answer that question, then we're able to get more people active. If we're able to identify why is one person more likely to be active than another person, what we can do is we can create infrastructure, we can create decisions that support more people getting more active based on those whys, why that person is getting more active. which locations and facilities are more likely to attract demand than others. If we're able to identify these locations and what makes those locations special or unique, what we're able to do is we're able to impact future infrastructure investment decisions, so we can ensure that the supply of infrastructure is meeting the demand. Now, the key sport there that we constantly hear is pickleball and padel, and those are, I'm sure, in your regions, growing exponentially here. And there's a big push to ensure that there's sufficient supply of pickleball courts and facilities to ensure that the demand is being met and your facilities are meeting that demand. And then lastly here, what is the value of participation to enable evidence-based decision? We know that in a lot of your work, evidencing the impact that your parks, sports, and recreation infrastructure or programming has on the community is absolutely critical. We know how impactful, we like to know how impactful our parks, our sporting facilities, our recreation facilities are at getting people active, improving the health and well-being, the physical and mental health and well-being of your community. And what we're trying to do through our organization here is identify the value of participation so that we can support evidencing the impact of your organization and your programs to those that you have to evidence impact to, maybe council or government or funding grants, whoever that may be. Well, who do we partner with? So we kind of know a little bit about what we do, and we're going to get more into it when we get into to the database itself. But who we partner with here? Well, we partner with pretty much anyone in the parks, sports, and recreation sectors, and that can be sports organizations and governing bodies, sports and recreation center operators, so facility operations, government at all three levels, parks, recreation, and physical activity industry leaders, such as the Canadian Parks and Recreation Association, strategic planning consultants, and then membership system providers, those providers that help us provide us with some critical data that we need to power our data intelligence tools. I hope you see your organization listed on the screen here, or I hope that your organization fits nicely into one of these 6 boxes. If not, it's not that my organization does not want to work with you, because we do. If your organization in the parks, sports, and recreation sectors, you're an important piece of the parks, sports, and recreation puzzle, and it's important that we work with you and bring you into our network. So how does the rubber meet the road with ActiveXchange? Well, the rubber meets the road like this. What we do is we take data sources from a variety. We take a variety of different data sources, such as member and user registration system data. So understanding those individuals that are participating in different programs in your communities. National infrastructure database and travel time data. So that supply of parks, sports, and recreation data, community profile and market segmentation data, which allows us with the ability to build deeper profiles to better understand more of the deep demographics, the deep psychographics or behaviors of those that are in your community. And then another data source there is local movement data. So those cell phones that are being tracked here to understand where people are going in your community, in your open and uncontrolled spaces. So what we do is we take these data sources plus more. This is just really a sample of some of the data that we bring into our platform or bring into our network of operators, of sports, of government, of consultants, academics, and business individuals. We bring all of this data into our network, and we produce data intelligence tools that allow impact in the facility and spaces areas, impacting people and bringing new members, new people participating in your programming or in your infrastructure. Partnerships as well, supporting what are relevant partnerships, maybe with your municipality and the appropriate third-party organization or sports organization, and then commercial as well. At the end of the day, all of us are existing in one way, shape, or form in a commercial enterprise, or we're supporting a commercial enterprise through some of the non-commercial work that we do. So essentially what we're doing, all encompassed, is taking the relevant parks, sports, and recreation data sources on both the supply and demand side, bringing that data into our network and producing data intelligence tools. But what does all this mean? What is the point of data? What is the point of all this that we're doing here? Well, it's data-led decision making. Data-led decision making is the newfangled word, the newfangled terminology that a lot of teams are using to ensure that they're doing the best job that they can for serving their community. What we know is that in the work that you do, whether it be in a municipality or a third-party organization or other, you're trying to tell the story and tell the story of the difference that you make, the impact that you make in your community. You need to take the qualitative outputs of someone going down to your new swimming pool and swimming for 2 hours, taking that qualitative output and track that into a quantitative outcome to report to those that need reporting to evidence that impact. And while we know that in this challenge, in this work, data is not the only piece of the puzzle, but it is a pretty critical piece of the data-led decision-making puzzle and the decision-making puzzle in general. When you bring the right data in at the start, it allows you to bring color to your story and balance those qualitative factors with quantitative outcomes. It allows you to understand how best to utilize your resources, how to optimize the efficiency of your resource allocation. And it allows you a benchmark for measuring the impact of your decisions, measuring the impact of your sites, and ensuring that your future sites, your future facilities, your future decisions that you make are made with the best possible outcome for your community. So that's a bit about my organization here. And now let's get into this partnership here. So our partnership with the Canadian Parks and Recreation Association, the Canadian Parks, Recreation and Sport Infrastructure Database is a partnership that's been launched about a year ago. And actually, I'll go to my next slide here. So launched in May of last year, the Canadian Parks, Recreation and Sport Infrastructure Database is the first and only infrastructure database designed specifically for parks, recreation, and sports organizations who have an interest within community sport and rec infrastructure. We've built this platform. We built this platform specifically for the Canadian market, and it features open and community sourced sport, aquatic, fitness, and recreation sites. Allows this central database to enhance the efficiency and effectiveness of using data to inform critical infrastructure investment planning decision-making. On your screen here, it does mention that the database is free and open for all Canadians. I'll say that one more time. This is a free and open source database open to all of you on the call today. It already contains pre-populated data for you to use, for you to be able to leverage the intuitive tools. However, to realize the complete potential of this database, what we need you to do is we need you, everyone on this call, all of your colleagues, to add, to edit, to manage, and access the relevant, non-commercially sensitive infrastructure information that's contained within this database. This database is an open source database that to see the full potential of what we are doing here, we need your help, we need your participation, and we think that we can make that happen because there's already a ton of value already included in this tool. So once again, this is a free platform for you to leverage. If you've not signed up for an account, so I believe that's 60% or so of you, you can do so by completing the form through the QR code here, or you can click through the link that Diane will provide in the chat. So Diane, if you don't mind, please just dropping that link into the chat so that the 60-some% of you can sign up and take a look at what we're talking about. Signups are verified manually, so they can take a week or two for you to receive your login information. But once you receive that, you'll have full access to the complete national infrastructure database. And if you miss the QR code, don't worry, it'll be on a few slides. Now, when you log in, for those of you that have logged in, for those that have not logged in, when you log in to access the platform, you'll see a collection of all of the common and you'll see the ability to add to the common and open source data repository where you can add that non-commercially sensitive recreation infrastructure information. We already feature a collection of data that's been provided, that's been developed through some sources. We also feature some localized demographic and community profile data and basic movement activity data. So what that allows us to do is it allows us to identify more and learn more about your communities, about the regions that you oversee or that you operate in, that you live in, that you're working within. Better understand some key demographic and community profile factors about that, as well as through the movement data, where people are going, when they're going there, and so on and so forth. Included is also a dashboard that you can manipulate to create a deeper understanding of the infrastructure provision in each many different geographic areas. So from a dissemination area up to a municipality or a census subdivision, up to a provincial and national level. Actually, I think we go all the way down to, I know we go all the way down to a postal code level. So understanding how infrastructure provision from a postal code level up to a national level aligns with the demand of the region. And what all this allows you to do, it allows you to save time and cost. That's the goal of this. The goal is to allow you to save time and cost to improve your decision making. It allows you to improve your ability to look within your own region, as well as to look next door to your neighboring regions or to regions across Canada, or what the infrastructure provision is in various different regions across the country, which allows you to better understand and improve and facilitate your own organization. Now, before we jump into a few other areas of the database, it's important that we have a strong understanding of how this database is structured, because while it may seem simple and intuitive, sometimes it's not. So to better understand how the data is structured, what we do is we leverage a relational database. Relational, wherein each of these, what I'm going to show you here, are related to one another. The first of which is sites. So what a site is a site defines the location or property with associated metadata. This is essentially a pin on a map that shows there is one recreation infrastructure site here. A good example of this could be something like a park, an open space. I live in Calgary. Within Calgary, we have this beautiful, massive park called Nose Hill Park. It takes up probably about a quarter of the land of Calgary, maybe less than a quarter, but it is a very, very large park, and that is one such site that would exist within the database. Another example would be a local recreation facility center. That within that center, they might have a basketball court, they might have a gym, a swimming pool, so on and so forth. And that's when we get into the facility. So within sites, there exist facilities, and these are defined as the spaces at the site where activities take place. So a site may have multiple facilities, such as a recreation facility. There is a basketball court, a gymnasium, there is a weight room, there is a swimming pool, there is a rock climbing wall, and so on and so forth. Or if a site may only have one such facility, such as an inner city park, there may only be the park for walking and general recreational use and activity. But still, the facility is defined as the space at the site where the activity takes place. And then deeper and lastly within all this are the usages, and these define how a space or a facility can be used. Again, each facility can have multiple uses, or it can have only one such use. A good example of this is a gymnasium. A gymnasium can be used for basketball, it can be used for indoor soccer, it can be used for general children's recreational programming. I remember as a kid in my elementary school gymnasium, we'd always have to bring out the parachute and play parachute games, and that's one such potential use of a different facility here. Again, facilities may only have one such use, and that may be a rock climbing wall, which you could really only go rock climbing on. What all three of these related items allow us to do is allows us to facilitate action plans as well. And an action plan can be many different things, such as it can be as simple as a new development or a new refurbishment or a new addition to a site, new addition to a facility, or a new usage added to a facility. It could be a completely new build of an adjacent facility. It is essentially an action that is being taken on one of the sites or facilities within, or the usages that can occur within these facilities. Now, there are four main highlights of the database that I want to focus on here. And the first one is our site and facility infrastructure data. So I've already touched on this a little bit. Actually, if you excuse me here. Apologies, I am a touch.
Jeff, you just muted yourself again.
Thanks, Diane. Appreciate that. Sorry. Apologies, everyone. I am a touch under the weather today, so just managing that. And anyways, continuing on here. The first is site and facility infrastructure data. So this is the bare bones, the most foundational, important element of this database. We just touched on that, the site and facility infrastructure, and how that is ordered in the database. Secondly is this dashboard. The dashboard I've touched on a little bit here. What this dashboard allows you to do, it allows you to cut, slice, and create different visuals to understand the provision of infrastructure, supply, and demand within your communities and your comparable communities, from as low as a postal code level up to the national level. The demographic, equity, diversity, and healthcare indicators. These are different mapping layers that allow you to identify some key different demographic features such as age, gender, and more than that as well, but those are the only two that come into mind right now. Equity indicators, diversity indicators, EDI factors, and healthcare indicators as well, such as someone's potential risk of physical inactivity, risk of obesity, and so on and so forth. And you'll see more of these once you join the database and take a look at those mapping layers. And then lastly is movement data. So this again allows us with the ability to understand the usage of open and untracked facilities. Well, we know that it might be easy to track and understand where people are going and what they're doing within a recreation facility or within your closed doors controlled spaces. Those open and uncontrolled spaces are much more harder to track. And what we're able to do here with this movement data is better understand where people are going in those open and uncontrolled spaces, to better understand the demand of infrastructure in those spaces. A bit more about movement is that there does exist a Movement Pro module that builds on the existing movement available in the database, and it does create a few different or adds on four new features that allow you with the ability to monitor your NID sites, so monitor your sites that are in the database, so you can understand how many people are coming to your parks, your regions, your open uncontrolled spaces that you might not be able to effectively track and count who, how and where and when those people are coming. It also allows you to create quad key collections. What a quad key collection is, it's a customizable geofenced area that allows you to isolate and identify an open and uncontrolled space with apologies, I just lost train of thought there. With the ability to isolate those spaces to track how much movement, how much activity there is within those spaces. An activity index export as well. This is the ability to actually take a look and understand how many people are coming to your regions. This activity index export allows you to pull the data, to isolate the data and export it into a CSV format for advanced manipulation, so that you can see exactly how many people are coming to your facilities and at what time of day. And then lastly here is a movement monitoring dashboard, and what that allows is the ability to to take some of what you could do by pulling your data into an activity index export and bring some of the insights into a dashboard itself. So that brings some of the potential manual manipulation work from your hands into our hands, saving your resource time. Diane, I see you've popped off mute here.
Just because we're going to questions in a minute, so I thought I'd come on.
Yep, sure thing. What I can do, I think I can skip ahead to the questions here and we can come back.
Perfect.
Or
yeah, there were quite a few
okay.
questions about movement data, so I thought this was a good
good stuff.
To maybe take a break. And so Nancy has asked, does movement activity include volume of people or just where they are moving? So maybe you can just quickly talk about the index that's used in how it's represented in colors.
Yeah, absolutely. I wonder if I have a good slide on
the
this
Stanley
here.
Park picture.
Yeah, there is the Stanley Park picture. I'll just jump back to that here. Yeah, so here, let me farm that question here. The question from Nancy, is that correct?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, awesome. Does the movement activity include volume of people or just where people are moving to? So, Nancy, great question. So what we're able to do is in the data that we source, it is indexed data, which is essentially data that is between a 0 and a 1 and a decimal data. And what we're able to do through that decimal data is create what's the term I'm looking for here? Estimations on the exact volume of people. So there are a lot of data security, data privacy reasons why we can't truly track the precise number of people that are going to an open space. That would be very, very scary. There are some excellent data privacy laws in Canada that allow us not to do so. So what we do is we take the anonymized data that we have, and we create estimations for how many people there are that go into any open space.
Yeah, and the picture there of Stanley Park, if you go in and play with it, it's a great example, because if you look at what it looks like at 8 o'clock on a weekday, the causeway is bright red, meaning lots of traffic because people are on their phones using their GPS on their phones in their cars, versus Saturday at 9 a.m. when the seawall becomes more active. So this without Jeff was just touching on the Movement Pro, which gives more information, which leads me to the second question. And I'm sorry, the heavens have opened here. So if I disappear, it's because we've lost power. And then Jennifer has asked, is the movement data included in the free plan? So yes, the basic is, and what Jeff was just talking about, the Movement Pro is an additional fee, and we'll come back to that. So I'm just getting rid of the questions there that we've done. Great. So a couple about what's the scope in the database, and maybe I'll take a stab at this. So Cody has asked, what is the scope from what facilities could be included? I'm thinking more about rural destinations, national parks, and their assets. Provincial parks and their assets. So parks, definitely any size, any shape, right, Jeff, can be put in because it's considered a site. So that's definitely possible. Trails are more challenging because at this point you can only sort of pick a point and not a linear site. So if you're going to put a trail in, pick the parking lot, the trailhead that is most popular. But it is definitely, you can start to input that data. So absolutely. As just that graphic's a good one. We have the site, then the facilities within that is very detailed. And you can go down to, if it's an indoor facility, what kind of flooring it has. If it's an outdoor, what kind of field it has. And on that,
Diane, I'll just build on that actually, which essentially a site is the location or property where someone goes to participate in activity. So trails do count, but when we're putting a pin on a map, which is more appropriate for most other recreation facilities, with the trails, it gets a little bit wonky, but we still do have that ability to add the pin as a trail. And if Cody, if you have those trails to add in, I would love if you add them into to the database.
For sure. And just going through here. So Joyce asked a really great question. Is it only useful if all local government and sport and recreation providers in an area provide their data? If they don't, is the data skewed?
Absolutely not. There's value in the database right now because there is sufficient, or there is a good quantity of park sport and recreation data that exists right now. Now what you're kind of getting to, Joy, is the ongoing challenge of trying to achieve 100% of the park sports and recreation data in Canada, which is the long-term goal of this project. However, is frankly impossible. As you get closer to that 100 percentile, it gets harder and harder and harder to add. So we understand that this will never be a 100% database that shows all of the infrastructure data, but our goal is to make it as good as it can be and include as much data as it can be, as is possible. So while there may be some skew, but that skew is in the very minute elements of the database. With
Yeah, and it does tie into Mary Catherine's question. She's a consultant, and clients are always asking for comparators across communities of different sizes. So one is like, what's the provision of 50-meter pools per, that's as the worst example ever, 50-meter pools for population. So there is a dashboard available, but that is where you're going to run into issues, because if the communities of a similar size have not put in their data, you can't access it. You can't find that. So that's part of our challenge, Mary Catherine. But yes, in terms of the level of detail, if a community has really done a good job and put in their data, and as a consultant, I encourage you to encourage your clients to use it, because it's going to help you in your research, and it's going to help others as well. There is lighting, there is the size of the field, there is all kinds of information. So, but again, we're battling that uphill. And sorry, I'm just going to carry on. Derek has asked, is the movement data tracking able to track which neighborhood the people are coming from? So there's the answer to that is no. Is that correct?
So, sorry, Diana, I missed the question. I was
sorry.
reading another one. Apologies.
Does the movement data track where people have come from?
No, that unfortunately is not possible with this data set. Reason being is that while that data does exist out there, it is not personally identifiable information free, because we've developed this free tool for use for organizations across Canada, predominantly municipalities and many public serving organizations. We know that there are significant privacy concerns that those types of data sets have. If you're able to track where someone is coming from, you're able to track their patterns of when they're leaving, when they're going from their home, which is quite scary. So we do not source that data set. We source a personally identifiable information free data set.
And Tracy's asked, can you tell how long people are staying? Is there a dwell time?
Again, for similar reasons, there's not a dwell time. There is an activity. So as someone moves through a region, that is what is being tracked, the act of an activity within a space. Dwell time, again, for similar reasons of understanding when someone dwells, and then when they leave the dwelling can be is not fully safe.
Okay, this one I'm not sure I understand. So over to you. Geofenced areas. Is there a minimum size area, for example, a tennis court, or a minimum number of users, visitors within the geofenced area to generate confident results? Okay, now I get the question.
Is there a minimum size or a minimum number of user visits within the geofenced area to generate confident results? So yeah, Martin, on that question. So the evidence, the estimation calculations that my team does, and Martin, I'm happy to provide you with some of the detailed calculations after this call. Is based on all of the activity across Canada. So the sample size here is not just within one local area. It's on all of the movement data that is across Canada. So there isn't any concern with the minimum size or minimum number of users or visitors because of the quantity of data that we're looking at here.
Yeah, and then so the same holds true for trails.
Yes, exactly.
Great questions. Great questions.
Great questions.
I'm gonna get to the ones that have been put in the chat. I'll just get through these. How can we contribute points in bulk? We'll get to that in a minute, Cody. So don't fear not. There is a plan afoot to help
Cody, you're getting
help
ahead of us
you
here.
help us. And is there an API available to pull sites either directly from that we can say no? We've talked about having an API that would take information directly from your asset management database into this. The challenge being the structure of every asset database system is quite different. I think, Jeff, that's something that could be worked on for a single client if you were to come on as a client of ActiveXchange. But in general, it would be just very complicated to have all of the different systems. So, for instance, a larger city, Winnipeg or Halifax, might come on as a client and have that kind of a development, but it's not currently available broadly. But there is a way to put your data out, and CPRA is going to be here to help you, and we'll talk about that.
It's actually a very good segue, Diane, I think, into
we've got
a
couple more questions, and we'll wait till our next round of questions, because I think that was a perfect segue into, well, the last question is about French. And currently the site is available in English only. However, I have tried it with using the translation feature on Chrome, and it is not bad. We are in the process of trying to make it a fully bilingual site. We will work with our partners in Quebec and in New Brunswick to make that happen. But it's a fairly substantial project given the scope and a number of terms within the database. So thank you, Anik, for the question. And yeah, it's on our agenda for sure.
Yes. Well, we'll touch on that as well, actually, in the database development section here too.
And Kirby and Erica will get back to those questions in a minute as well. So I'll let you carry on now with database developments, because some of this is just leading us directly to where we want to go.
It is no kidding here. So there's a couple of good questions. Thanks everyone for your questions. If we don't have time to get to your questions, my email address will be on the screen at the end of the session here. Feel free to reach out with your questions, and we'll do what we can to answer to the best of our ability. So database developments. So where do we go next? Everything up until now has been what's been going on with the database from when we launched last year. But we know that this is a living, breathing tool that can be updated, can be changed, can be improved. So where do we go next? Well, prior to launch, the database was populated with a collection of data that was sourced and verified through Stats Canada and their open database of recreational and sports facilities and our internal research. But we continue to monitor and expand, monitor the expansion and growth of the data for quality. So as I mentioned here, we had an initial data source by Stats Canada. And we've also had additional data supplied from various different provincial, regional, territorial, municipal governments, local governments, national government bodies, sports associations, national bodies, industry consultants, so on and so forth. We've had additional data supplied from various different sources. However, because this is an open source platform, anyone can add, anyone can edit, anyone can manage their own infrastructure data in the database. All of you that are on the call that are a part of a participating organization and users have the ability, once vetted, to add your data directly to the database and get the utmost value out of the platform immediately. So what this kind of leads to is, to realize the full potential of this database, we need your help. We need your participation, and we need your infrastructure data. And what makes this challenge here, of needing your help even easier, is that it's never been easier for you to see as much value as you can from the database as possible. So bulk ingestion tool. So this is exactly one of the questions here that was being asked in the chat here. While the free platform holds value for your organization right now, where you can add your recreation site facility information and leverage what's available, this bulk ingestion tool, I'm losing my notes here. Adding your recreation and site information will make the tool a go-to source of parks, sports, and recreation infrastructure, intelligence. It will allow you to improve your ability to make infrastructure decisions and provide the best services to your community. To make the national infrastructure database more easy to leverage to its utmost value, we've created a bulk ingestion tool. We've created this tool that allows you and your infrastructure to be added to the database much more easily than before. Let me continue on here. And so no longer do users need to add sites and facilities one at a time. No longer is it an arduous process where you can click a button and slowly add in your facilities and dedicate hours and hours on end to adding your information in. Through the use of our easy-to-use Excel template, the one that's on your screen right now, the National Infrastructure Database can now accept your infrastructure information in bulk. So what this allows you to do is it allows you to fully add the complete information on your sites. There we go. On your sites, your facilities, and their usages. So what we see here on your screen right now is an example of one such site that has been fully added via a bulk ingestion tool. And this is it's called the Hockey for All Center. It exists in Winnipeg. On your screen here is the fully populated site information. And we can take a look at it, but once you have your account, you can look at it yourself. So I don't need to dwell too much on this. Fully updated usage information, facility information, and fully added usage information here as well. So even further, so we have created this bulk ingestion tool, but that's not all. To make this even easier for you to add your sites, add your facilities, add your information, and get the most out of this tool, the CPRA and ActiveXchange are pleased to announce that we've secured resourcing to make adding your information as easy to integrate as possible. For a limited time only, we are proud to announce this bulk ingestion tool support initiative, whereby through this initiative, you and your organization will have all of your relevant parks, sports, and recreation infrastructure information added to the database at minimal resource cost to you. So what we're able to do is we're able to provide resourcing support to you, leveraging this bulk ingestion tool to get your sites, your information into the database, making it as valuable as can be in a jiffy. All that you need to do is sign up for this initiative through the QR code on your screen or through the link that Diane will put in the chat right now. And thanks, Diane. And provide your parks, recreation, and sport infrastructure data, and you will receive the support from our team to add your information into the database. Once that information is added, once your information is added, that will allow your organization and the organizations in your municipality or in your region to fully realize the potential within the Canadian Parks, Recreation, and Sport Infrastructure Database. If you're interested in signing up for this initiative and getting your data added to the database with the support of our teams, simply sign up. Sign up before June 7th. That's the deadline, and our team will contact you to help you identify the relevant park, sports, and recreation data, and then integrate that data into our database through the use of the bulk ingestion tool. If you're not able to sign up right now, if there's something stopping you from doing so, what we are able to do is provide the bulk ingestion tool to you to make it still quite simple. The template is quite easy. As long as you have rudimentary Excel skills, you'll be able to leverage the template and integrate your data. But for limited time only, we are able to offer support on the resourcing front as well. So I hope Diane has dropped that in the chat there. If not, we can return to the slide a little bit later to get the QR code.
It's in the chat now.
Great, thanks, Diane. All right, last slide, then we'll answer some questions because I see a few more popping up here. So on what we have here is more continuations on where we are headed. We know from talking to the users, from talking to organizations, from receiving feedback from all of the 30-some% of you on the call who have joined the database, plus the thousands of others who aren't on the call today. We've collected feedback and understanding how we can improve this database. So on your screen here, we have a few different items. So bulk data ingestion automation, the ability to automate that is potentially on our roadmap here. Integrating community profile insights, action plans enhancements to the data schema, bilingual user interface that is on our roadmap to whoever asked that question. Apologies if I've forgotten your name. And a few other items here on your screen, which you'll be able to learn more about when I send the slides out afterwards. However, in the essence of time, I'm going to go back to our questions here. Ask Diane to rejoin me here, and we'll get more.
Perfect.
We'll answer your
Thank
questions.
you. Thank you. First question, what platform is used within the system, and in what formats can an organization share data? And should the organization send the data or should edit? Yeah, so a lot of questions, process questions there from
Yes, absolutely.
Yesenia. So maybe you could just tackle that.
Yeah, no problem. Good question, Yesenia. So what platform is used within the system? So we have built our own platform. It's our own product that we built for the CPRA and for the Canadian market. So it's our platform. In what formats can organizations share data? So that would be in CSV format, Yesenia. CSV or Excel format would be the preferred means. However, for right now, as we get this initiative off the ground, all that we're asking of you to do is notify us of your interest. What my team or what our combined teams will do is contact you and organize the data sharing in the appropriate forms at that time.
We're conscious of we're conscious of the data validation process, so that's why we definitely wanted to launch this in a very hands-on way, which leads to the second question from Jenna. If the bulk ingestion support initiative is limited time, what would be the cost during regular time? There will be no cost, but this is your chance to have some help doing it. So in the future, what would happen is you would get the CSV sheet, you would have to manipulate your data. You're going to have some support from ActiveXchange and a fantastic intern that we have for the summer, which is why it's this limited time to help communities with that. But it's not that hard. It's once you've looked at the fields, it's like anything. If you've got somebody who loves Excel and loves, pivot tables and all that kind of stuff, you should be able to do it. But this kind of more intense support is available just because we were able to secure some funding for this intern. So no cost in the future either.
And no pivot tables either, actually.
No pivot tables. I know. I just always use that as an example.
If you have, I would say 3 out of 10 of Excel manipulation skills or higher, you'll be totally fine with this template.
Exactly. Yeah, you tried to make it as Daniel has a laugh at that. Okay, Joe. Hello, Joe. In the reports section on the platform, can you advise on how to access investment planning and social value reports? So that's maybe a little clarification that's required.
I'll take that, Diane. So Joe, the platform itself, so the investment planning and social value / other reports that you've mentioned here, those are not a part of the Canadian Parks, Recreation, and Sport infrastructure database. Those are standalone tools and they're standalone tools that ActiveXchange offers to organizations outside of this initiative here. So Joe, if you had any questions about any of those there, I encourage you to send me an email and we can discuss offline.
Great. Thank you. And there was another question farther back from Kirby about accessibility features. And Kirby, I'm going to suggest that you reach directly out to ActiveXchange. This came through the chat, Jeff, not through the thing. Okay. So, we strive to be as accessible as possible, and understanding that databases are one of the more challenging features when it comes to accessibility. So, would encourage Kirby just to reach out when we've got your email at the end. And I think we answered Eric's question about people, capturing where people are coming from and where they're going we can't really do that. But, oh, and there Jeff's put his direct email in there as well. Oh, a couple more. Okay, I think we've got all the questions now.
I think so. I think we've covered all the questions. Unless if we've missed your question by any issue here, please do send us an email with your question, and we'll happy respond to it when we're able to do so. And we'll go from there. Diane,
Yep.
what are we missing?
I think in terms of, I'm just browsing back. I think we've got everything. Definitely, if you've got more, is it free? Yes, I think it is free. Your account is free. The bulk ingestion is free. What is not free was, Jeff was just touching on the movement data when I barged in with all these great questions. The Movement Pro data is a paid suite, but there are other tools that ActiveXchange has. So I encourage you to go to their site and just check out. Specifically, I put the link to the tutorials in the chat earlier on. So if you go to the infrastructure database, click on that, go down, you'll find some great tutorials done by Jeff himself that show you how easy it is just actually to get your data in. And I know there's somebody on this call who had her staff do it in advance of a master plan, and it was really helpful in terms of having all that information in one place for the consultants, and they reported that it was really not as hard as it might have seemed. So
it seems scary, but it's really not. It's quite simple. Yeah, Yesenia, I see your question here come through. We will share a recording of this webinar with everyone.
Yep, you get the recording, you get the links, you get all of those links that were in it, and hopefully we'll have some uptake, and we'll be able to really make the data really powerful, because it's so needed in our sector, just so needed. It really ties in with the measuring impact data, where we're looking at our broad impact. So the more we have it, the better off we'll all be. So Jeff, on behalf of CPRA, thank you so much for this great partnership that we have, and for doing a great presentation today.
Well, thanks everyone for coming. Thank you for your support, Diane, and look forward to continuing along and chatting with each of you in the future. All right, great. And Anik, please feel free to reach out to intelligence@activeexchange.ca or info@cpra.ca for some support. Oh, one more question just come in, Jennifer. Will it be possible to select data on a specific size of community to see what sites are available? Yes, that is true, but that's the part where we don't have quite enough information right now to make it really meaningful. So you might say, I want to see how many pools are available in communities of this size. It's better to look at it sort of on a provincial level rather than getting down to that level, because you never know. I mean, arenas is a great example. I mean, there's not nearly the number of arenas that we know Canada has in the database. So that's coming. That's why we need everybody. Yeah, because nobody knows that answer. Nobody knows exactly how many arenas there are in Canada. We're trying to figure that out through this initiative, right? Like the government doesn't know, so we're trying to figure that out. Great. Yeah. Well, thanks everyone, and have a fantastic day. And look for an email in a couple of days as we process the recording and get everything together. Merci beaucoup. Bye-bye.